Hey guys, I hope you're all doing fantastic today. So I wanted to jump on here and do a reading for you guys. And so my intention on this reading today is going to be a collective reading. Just kind of to get an energy update, I suppose, of just kind of the collective and where we're at right now as a collective. And so recently I've been kind of tapping into a collective highlight of the root chakra. And so I kind of want to see what that's all about and to see what kind of wisdom is in whatever it is, whatever meaning it is behind this kind of highlight of the root chakra within the collective right now. And so I'm just gonna kind of pick some cards, see where we're all at right now, and just maybe get some insight, advice, or whatever focus, whatever it is we need to know about this kind of collective energy and where we're all at this time, and just to kind of get an idea of what the focus is or why there's a focus on the root chakra. So for those of you who don't know what the root chakra is, or I mean, I think for the most part, if you've come along, or if you've stumbled along onto this video, you kind of have an idea of what the chakras are. But just to be sure, the root chakra is the associated with the color red, and it's at the very bottom, pretty much at the base of your spine, or like at the coccyx part of your body. It's located right there, and it's associated with the color red, like I said, and it represents kind of your instinctual type of energy. It has to do with security, foundation, just the kind of the energy of where you feel safe and just stability. Okay, and so this chakra is being highlighted at this time from what I've felt, and we're going to get some information and some insight, whatever it is we need to know about this. We gonna get it. Okay, so let's get started. I'm excited about this. Let's just start pulling some cards and see what comes up. Okay. My ear's ringing, so it feels like there's stuff that needs to be said. Let's get into it. Okay, pick a card. Here we go. Okay, so we have the Three of Swords. That's interesting that I feel like there's a highlight on regarding the root chakra, because there's a lot of red in this picture, and it just affirms that for me. I don't know if you guys if that makes any sense to you, but that just affirms to me that there is something going on here with the root chakra. So let me get some information from this card as to what we need to know right now. Okay, so with this card, I'm feeling like what's happening right now is that there is something being seen by the collective. Okay, there's something that's being, it feels like there's a separation here, a separation from what we thought we knew to what's actually true. That's what I'm feeling. A separation between what we thought was true versus what actually is true. Because we have these swords going through this heart here, and it appears that somebody was here, but now they're gone. And it's almost like, and the Three of Swords actually represents, usually this card represents heartbreak, or it can represent the end of a relationship. But because this is such a collective reading, it feels a little bit more deeper than that. So there may be some of you that are experiencing a breakup or heartbreak at this time. But on a collective level, it just means that we're starting to be able to discern what is masking as truth versus what truth actually is. So I guess we can talk about, you know, relationships. So if you're in a relationship, and maybe you're in love with somebody, so if the person that you're in love with is toxic, sometimes when you're in love, you kind of allow that toxicity to be your life. Like, you allow toxic behavior, and you do it because you're in love, and because maybe in the beginning of a relationship you thought it was one way, but as you know, your relationship has gone on, you may have realized some truths, and things weren't as like romantic and good in the beginning, and now they're just kind of toxic. But you were already kind of locked in because you thought this person was a certain type of person, but turns out they're not. And unfortunately for a lot of people, sometimes we get stuck in those relationships and we never leave those relationships. But it feels like right now there is just this understanding and seeing things the way they really are, and then taking the action to leave those things that may have masked themselves as being good or truthful, and realizing this isn't good for me. And as much as I love this, or as much as I love this person, or have loved this way of being, I know now that if I want to be better in some capacity, I have to walk away from what's not aiding me in my goals, in my journey. So it feels like there's a lot of like painful separation. Okay, so it's not easy to leave someone you love because, you know, they're unhealthy, or because they don't want to work on themselves. And it's like, maybe you've tried to help a person for so long, but you know, you can't really help anybody unless they want to be helped. And so it just feels like there's just this painful separation that a lot of us are experiencing at this time, where we know for our own health, and if you have kids involved, for your children's health, and you know, mental health, whatever, we know we have to kind of give ourselves respect by separating ourselves from what's not working, and from toxic behaviors from people we love, or from things that we've always done, or ways of thinking that we've always thought. We have to leave something behind because it's not our truth, and it's not aiding us in our journey forward anymore. So I feel that's something that's going on right now. Okay, there's a lot of separation, some painful separation from things that just aren't working from us, from people that are just not working for us anymore, that aren't, you know, beneficial to our growth and our evolution. Let's see what else we got here, guys. Okay, see, there's also, yeah, in doing this, it, like, we have the sunshine here, and we have like a treasure piece that we found. Like, if you look at this picture, it appears that there's this person has found gold. Like, she's found a piece of gold, and it's like, oh my god, it's beautiful, look what I found. And we have the sunshine back here that represents light and love and just pure energy, just good high vibrational energy. And it feels like it's newly found, because the page, or the Ace of Pentacles, okay, this is the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles represents an opportunity. There is so much opportunity when you separate yourself from the things that are no longer working for you, is what I'm seeing for the collective right now. Yeah. I feel like, yeah, because in the background of this picture, there is like a lot of garden space. Like back here, there's like a line. I don't know if you can see that. It's like lined as if it's prepared to be seeded. Okay. And so I feel like what's happened, see, okay, with the Three of Swords card, like I said, there's this separation. There's almost like this split happening. Okay. And you can either choose to stay in toxicity and to allow things to control you, to keep you down, to keep you stagnant, to pull you back. You can either choose to continue this path, or you can choose a new path, a path where you're breaking free of chains. You're breaking free of people that are holding you back, breaking free of ideas that are holding you back, breaking free of jobs that are not respectful to you, that are draining you to the point where, yeah, you're making ends meet, but when you get home, you're like depressed or unhappy or exhausted. So all you feel like you're doing is like working and then sleeping and working and sleeping. And it's like, what's the point? Like, I feel like there's this like stuffy, toxic, controlling, just unhappy, depressing, dense, thick, low vibration energy here that you may or may not have been in, but if you were, there feels like there's this separation. Okay, if you haven't felt that already, I feel like, honestly, if you're here watching this video, you've made the jump. Okay, it feels like there's a jump here, or a leap, and it's the leap to opportunity, new beginnings and new opportunities for you, because you've made that leap. Okay, because it's here. The leap is here. And so it feels like you are definitely, you're on the right track, is what I'm feeling. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Like new job opportunities with the Ace of Pentacles. So for a lot of you, there's going to be new job opportunities happening for you because you've made the decision to leave a previous job that was no longer working for you. And you may have been at a certain job for so long that you felt like you feel like you can't leave it because you've been there for so long, and you know it so well that you want to stay safe, is what it feels like. But that's why the Three of Swords energy is so like painful, because it's such a difficult decision to leave a job that you've been at for like 10 years. That's scary, because in 10 years, you know, you've probably made a lot of stability in a job like that. So you know a lot, you know, you don't, and the thought of leaving a job that you've been at for 10 years could be very scary. And like, what are you going to do? You know, you don't have not life insurance, just insurance in general, and just feeling like losing all that, it could be very vulnerable and scary. And like, that's a big decision. And that's why it's so painful with the Three of Swords here, is because it's a scary decision, but you've made the leap. Okay, it feels like you've made the leap. And if you haven't like done the action of actually like leaving a job, you've thought about it, and even thinking about it and really giving it a lot of thought and entertaining that thought is really like, is a good thing, because it will get you going, and you will really align with what's meant for you if you want to grow as a human being and to achieve like the best life that you want. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, we have the Hanged Man. Let's see. What does Spirit want us to know now? Yeah, I feel like for a lot of us, change is necessary. It feels like change and just the idea of experiencing new things when it comes to, okay, so let's say you're someone who has the same job, you've had the same job for forever, and now, and it's just kind of getting bland. Okay, you have the same job, you do the same thing, and it's just kind of like this same old thing on repeat, and it's getting a little bit dull. Yeah, it's just getting dull, because we have this person hanging upside down. You can see the weather in the background is a little bit cloudy, and this person is chained to this broom up in this tree, yet in his hand he has a key. I don't know if you can see that, but he has the key in his hand. So he's chained, but he's not really chained. I mean, he's chained, but he can get himself out at any point if he, opens his eyes and takes the key and puts it in the lock, and then goes to his feet and puts that in the lock. So it's what I'm feeling is it's our choice to move. It's our choice to leave a situation if we want to. If something is not working for us, if things are getting boring, if things are getting bland, if things are staying stagnant, it's really, we don't really realize the amount of power we have to change our own realities. And it comes down to the choices that we make. And I feel like what's going on right now in the collective, we're really starting to hone in on this kind of idea that how we experience our lives is really up to us by the choices that we make, because we can choose to leave our jobs. Yeah, it's going to be scary. Yeah, it's a new experience. Yeah, you're going to have to relearn a new job maybe. Yeah, you're going to leave something that has been so comfortable for you for so long, and the unknown is scary, but what's happening right now, but what you've always done is just not doing anything for you anymore. It's not doing anything for us anymore. And so there's this huge collective wave of inspiration to a lot of us that is wanting us to explore new ideas and new ways of being and new ways of living, and I just feels like there's a lot of challenge. Yeah, we're kind of wanting, for a lot of us, I think we know that we have to challenge ourselves, but for those of you who feel this but aren't really sure what it means or what's going on, you're being kind of pushed to challenge your comfort zone, to kind of challenge getting you out of your comfort zone, okay? And so it feels like a lot of people just feel like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't do this. There's no way I could do this. And it's like, you could do that if you wanted to. You could if you wanted to. You just have to be, if you plan on moving jobs, if you plan on moving locations, make sure that you're going to be okay and you're not going to be in poverty or broke to where you're going to be in a disastrous situation. Okay, there are ways to get out of certain situations in a practical way, as long as you handle things in a practical way. But I just feel like there's a lot of voices saying, oh, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, what would I do if I did this? And it's like, challenge yourself. Okay, challenge yourself. And if making huge moves when it comes to where you are, where you live, and maybe where your work is, challenge yourself in small steps before you make a step like that. If that will be helpful for you. It feels like that maybe you know, if you're someone who isn't very social, challenge yourself to like have a conversation with somebody as you go out in the world today. You know what I mean? Because that's something that I kind of have to do myself, because I mean, I do YouTube videos, but one of the things that I need to work on is like communication and being able to kind of talk, really, because I've been quiet my entire life, that now that I have things to say, now that I want to speak, it's almost like, oh my God, like I don't have that wide of a vocabulary. Sometimes it's hard for me to articulate sentences and just speaking in general in a way that makes sense to people who talk all the time, who communicate all the time, who like talk to people all the time, you know what I mean? So for me, that's a challenge that I like to kind of give myself, is when I go out into the world or run errands or something, like I'll give myself like a little challenge, like just spark up a conversation with anybody. It does not matter, anybody. Child starts talking to you, I'll start talking to the child, like, and be in the conversation, like be present in the conversation, and really like get to you know, I'm not saying go find a child and like talk to them. That might be a little bit weird, but I'm just saying, you know, and that's playing it safe for me, you know, because I feel like you can be completely honest around a kid and they won't judge you, or they will quite blatantly be honest with anything. But there's something so pure and safe about talking to a child, but also humans, talking to grown human beings. And if you do that, you might find a human being who you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I talked to this person today because they sound like a really cool person, or they know something that might be beneficial to you, and you could like network something. There's whatever, you don't know what can happen. Or you can spark up a conversation with somebody who is maybe a little bit crazy, and that might be interesting too. Or you might spark up a conversation with somebody who turns out and really enjoys hearing themselves talk, and you might be stuck listening to someone blab on for too long, and you might wish you never had sparked up a conversation with that person. But whatever, man. Like, I'm willing to sacrifice hearing someone talk and talk and talk and talk without really kind of being present in the conversation, that there's two people and not just them listening to themselves talk. I'm open to taking that risk, just in case that might not happen, and I might meet somebody amazing and whatever, you know? And so there's just this push that I'm feeling in the collective right now, that it's time to get used to being out of your comfort zone, you know? And I'm saying to just throw yourself in the deep end and for forever. I'm just saying, like, maybe small steps like that could be helpful for you in kind of getting used to the idea of moving out of somewhere where you're comfortable. Because, you know, if you're comfortable for too long and it's just safe, just like relationships, guys, like I said, you might be in a relationship that's just not working for you, but you've just been in it for so long that it just feels safe and comfortable and you're used to it. And if you like break up, then you'd have to meet another person possibly, and then you'd have to, you know, get to know a whole other, you know, significant other, and you have to meet their family and then meet their friends, and it's just this whole other new situation that's kind of scary. And it's like, well, I'd rather not do that, so I'll just stay where I am. And so there's just this push. I feel this intensely, that there is this push that is uprooting. Okay, I'm feeling interesting, because there's this feeling of being uprooted, but in a good way. Okay, I feel like, okay, I'm seeing like someone pulling a plant out of, uprooting a plant, and then kind of bringing it over somewhere else and putting it somewhere new, where the soil might be more fertile, as opposed to where you were previously, where, you know, everything around it was kind of just dying. And so I feel like there's this uprooted feeling. Okay, so I'm getting this. So I've been feeling this intense energy regarding the collective and what's going on in the collective right now at this moment. it's been feeling very, very, what's the word? In between, okay? That's just the word that I'm feeling right now. I've come across, I told somebody else, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a friend and they were just asking me how I was feeling. And at that time, I was at a place in my life where things were very like uncertain and like up in the air. And I told her that, she asked me how I was feeling, and I told her I'm feeling like I'm in between worlds right now. Excuse me. Yeah, I told her I was feeling like I was in between worlds right now. And yeah, that's what I'm feeling here with, as we're being uprooted from where we've always been for so long, the step from, okay, so when we uproot something and then replant it, there's a process, right? And so the first step is uproot the plant, right? And there's a process that goes from, you know, one point to the next point. So you got uproot, and then it's up in the air, okay? So if you are this plant, you are being uprooted. So you may feel up in the air right now, okay? I hope that makes sense, because that's the image I'm seeing right now, is that there's just this uprooting of this plant, and it's being placed somewhere that will be better for this plant to grow, okay? Because where this plant was initially, it's been, you know, it's grown there in this spot for a while, but at this point, nothing is growing. There's no rain hitting this area anymore. The sunlight is starting to stop hitting this spot, so there's just no nutrients hitting this plant, so it's not growing and it's starting to wither up. And so in order to save this plant, it needs to be relocated into another area where there's plenty of sunshine, where there's plenty of rain, and where there's plenty of fertility, okay? And so I feel like for a lot of us right now in the collective, we are being uprooted from a sterile kind of environment, a sterile farmland, if you will. We're being uprooted from this, and we are being relocated to somewhere else that will be more beneficial to us in our growth. And so with that process, the Three of Swords is representative of this uprooting, okay? It's painful, all right? It's painful to kind of be pulled and yanked out from what you've always known for so long. And you know, that's a process in and of itself. But also there is some confusion. There's a confusion feeling, okay? It's just a feeling, okay? It's a normal feeling, but in reality, you're not lost, you're not confused, you're just in the process of being relocated to a better location. And for some of you, you know, in general, that's metaphorical, right? You know, that's just the kind of a depiction I'm seeing in my mind that represents what's kind of going on with the collective right now. And so but that could also be a microcosm, I think I'm saying that word right, for that kind of general energy, to where it means a lot of you may actually be relocating, okay? You may actually physically be relocating, like moving from where you used to live to moving to another place, okay? So you might actually be moving somewhere. And if you are moving somewhere, it feels like wherever you're moving to is going to be really, really beneficial and good for you moving forward, okay? So if you're moving, if you have just moved, or if you're planning on moving in the near future, it feels like a very wise decision, okay? And it feels like you're going to be relocating to a place that will be beneficial for you and for your evolution and for your growth as a human being. But yeah, for some of you, if you don't feel like you have relocated yet, you are looking for a place to be replanted, okay? You're not lost. you're just relocating, okay? You're just in this kind of process of moving from point A to a much better point B. So if you're lost and confused and you feel like you're in between worlds right now, it's just because you're traveling. You're traveling, okay? That's just what I'm feeling for you guys, for everybody, for us. Okay. I'm really excited. This is so good, okay? There's this movement, this beautiful movement of there's just this huge shift of, it's almost like a butterfly, okay? I feel like we're really, oh, okay, nice. I like that. Yeah, we're like butterflies right now. We were all living like caterpillars, not knowing we can just go into a cocoon and turn into this beautiful butterfly that can fly off and that could fly, you know what I mean? Okay, so, and I feel like right now, yeah, right now you might either be coming into your butterfly avatar, what's the word? Identity, I guess you can say. You might be turning into this butterfly identity, and it's not a different identity. It's not an identity that's not yours. It's just it's an identity that's more in alignment with who you really are and with your full potential. And so right now, there's just so many of us caterpillars turning into butterflies, and a lot of you have already made the transition and you guys are flying. But there's also a lot of us that are still kind of in that cocoon stage where we're going from point A to point B, just like the plant, right? We're going from point A to point B, from caterpillar to butterfly. But right now it might be in between. So you might be in the cocoon still, getting ready to be transformed into this beautiful butterfly that you are and that you've always been. But now you're just becoming in alignment to it. So let's see what else we got here. Okay, we have the Three of Wands. Okay, so what I'm feeling with this is that as we make this transition into this new transition into this butterfly, right? Okay, so what I'm feeling with the Three of Wands is that for those of us who have come out of our cocoon and we are now butterflies, first of all, it's like this newfound beauty, right? We're like, oh my God, I'm a butterfly. I have wings. I can fly. Like, first I was just, eating leaves and crawling on trees and crawling on the ground. Now we can fly. Now we have a higher perspective of our life. And maybe for a lot of us, maybe for a lot of you who are watching, you understand a lot of the things that you had to deal with or experience in the past, and it's all starting to kind of make sense for you. You kind of realize that some painful things that you've had to experience in the past, or maybe even some painful things that you experienced recently, it feels like a lot of us are going to be realizing that it was all by design so that we could be where we are now, so that we would be able to transform into this butterfly being. So with the Three of Wands here, I am feeling that, yeah, okay. So I don't know if everybody here has seen the Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I'm talking about the very first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. And so when he first realizes that he is Spider-Man, he starts to kind of play with his abilities. So he has to kind of figure out how, like, the web that comes out of his wrist, how that works. He has to figure out how his, like, he can climb, and like how his, like, fingers are sticky and he can, like, climb walls and stuff. He wasn't like Spider-Man like that, right? He had to kind of work with his newfound abilities and kind of get used to it a bit. And that's what I'm feeling with the Three of Wands here. You can see that this person has like this magic wand, and they're kind of out in the open by themselves, just kind of playing with magic, okay? it's just kind of, they're just kind of playing with magic, and they have 2 other wands here that just in case they mess this one up, they'll have 2 more. They're kind of experimenting, they're playing with it. And so for right now, what I'm feeling is there's some interesting, you know, there's some stages happening right now, but there's a major growth happening in the collective right now. And that's what I feel like I was seeing. I think with the root chakra, like I was saying, the root chakra has to do with like security, foundation, and feeling safe and like safety stuff. We're building a new root chakra. It feels very tower energy. If you know what the tower card is in the tarot deck, the tower energy has to do with like faulty foundation and like things collapsing in order for this faulty foundation to start over. So you have a foundation where it won't be faulty and it won't fall over when you get to so high at some point in this foundation. So it almost feels like there's going to be a lot of release from trauma in the past, is what I'm feeling. A lot of trauma that you may have experienced in the past is being released, which is helping with that kind of foundation, because as kids, that's where we build our foundation. That's where we build our root chakra stuff. And so it feels like we're being given the opportunity to knock down everything that was built on this faulty foundation so that we can start over and build a new foundation that's more solid and sturdy and built out of goodness and wealth and abundance. And so yeah, and so that's what's happening right now. The old is being knocked down so that we can start over with something so much better. I feel like that's the theme of this. That's what's going on right now, is that we are being given the opportunity to knock down everything that we have built, which is scary when we're not really looking at the situation from a higher perspective. You know, when we don't see this theme from a higher perspective, it just feels like everything around us is collapsing. It just feels scary, and it feels like things are falling. And I feel like in the world, it's going to be it might seem very scary. There's going to be a lot of things that used to be something that was a thing for so long, and it's just no longer going to be a thing. It's just no longer going to be a thing, and it's going to be like worrisome for a lot of people, because there's just like been so much what's the word? There's just been so much built on a certain thing that once it's gone, it's going to kind of shake people up a little bit. It's going to shake up that root chakra, thinking like, this was a part of this I associated this thing with my foundation, and if it's gone, it makes me feel less secure, less safe. But it's necessary. When you look at it from a objective perspective, you can see that it's all necessary. You know, things are needed to fall down because things are needed to be rebuilt in a better way. So we have this kind of destructive kind of energy that's happening, but a necessary one. Like if let's say there's this beautiful house, right? There's this beautiful house in a neighborhood that everybody drives by all the time, and they always are enamored with this house because it's so beautiful, and it's like famous, okay? There's just this beautiful house that's in this neighborhood, and people drive by it all the time, and they know this house because it's so beautiful and it doesn't look like all of the others. But when you kind of go inside this house, you see this family that has lived in this house, and it's falling apart on the inside. It maybe looks beautiful and like old on the outside, but inside it's falling apart. It's there's black mold. There's kids here. The kids can't breathe in that black mold. It's like, it's almost like the inside of this house is not livable and almost dangerous to the family that's living inside it. And so this family decides that they're going to knock it down, because there's just no way that this house can be saved, because it's so tainted because of whatever reason. It's so tainted, you know, maybe previous tenants didn't take care of the house, and it's just kind of, it's coming to a point where this family says, you know what, we can't do this anymore. It's time to demolish it. And so as this process is happening, there might just be, you know, people driving by thinking, oh my God, that beautiful house is being demolished. Like, who would do such a thing? Like, oh, it's almost like a, oh no, like we don't want it to be demolished. But that's kind of not seeing what's actually going on in that situation. It's kind of, you don't really understand why this is being demolished, but the family inside knows why it's being demolished, because they've experienced it personally, and it's just the right decision. It's the right thing to do, because it's just unlivable at this point. And so, you know, this family is like, we need to demolish it and then we'll build on top of it, okay? And so for that family, they understand that that's what needs to be done. But from an outside perspective, who's not like super informed of what's going on in this house, it's sad and it looks destructive and it looks like something, you know, like it's just sad, okay? And so that's what it feels like now. That's what it feels like that's happening now. That things are falling apart, and it just seems sad. Yet on a truth level, from a higher perspective, understanding, it's meant to happen. You know, it's not sustainable anymore. It needs to be knocked down so new foundation can be built on top of it. New, healthy, better foundation can be built on top of it. So that is what's happening right now. We're leaving these situations. We're demolishing situations because they need to be, and because they need to be taken down. They need to be uprooted, because it's just, there's nothing sustainable for this in this life anymore, in this way of being, in this relationship, in this job. There's just no sustainable living this way anymore. And we have taken I'm going to say we have taken this leap. We've taken this leap. We've accepted and agreed that we want a better life for us, for our family, and for the generations to come. And with that agreement is when the universe, you know, listens and kicks in and saying, all right, we have agreed. So now I'm coming in and I'm breaking down things that aren't working so that we have the opportunity to build a better foundation moving forward. So there's a lot of breakdown happening. There's going to be a lot of breakdown happening for feels like a few years, okay? It feels like for a few years there's going to be a lot of things that are just going to be, we're going to be like, what? There's no more of this store. There's no more of this fast food place that has been around for, like, something like McDonald's. Could you imagine if McDonald's wasn't a thing anymore? People would be shook, you know? But at our core, we know, well, I mean, that's pretty shitty food anyway. Like, it's probably best if McDonald's isn't around anymore. But it's just such a widely known establishment that if it was just gone, people would be like, what reality are we living in, right? And so I'm not saying that I'm seeing that McDonald's isn't going to be a thing anymore, but it's something like that is what I'm feeling we will be seeing in our lifetime in the coming years, okay? But there's also situations that are a little bit more, you know, in our personal lives that are going to be no more, you know, like relationships or jobs or ways of thinking. You know, those things are just going to be no more of this, no more bad, you know, No more bad talking about myself. No more gossiping constantly. No more complaining constantly. No more talking shit about people constantly, because what is that doing for you, you know? No more eating junk food all the time. There's just something that's not going to be a thing anymore for you that has been a thing for you for so long, okay? That's what I'm feeling. And that we're the ones who are going to make the choice to transition into this place. You know, we've already made the leap, and now we're kind of in this stage where we got to kind of learn what we're made of, and then figure out how to use our newfound powers and strengths, okay? So yeah, this is really beautiful. I'm really excited for how this is all going to play out for us in it, you know, in the world as well as in our like personal lives. Well, that was fun, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Wait a minute, should I do one more card? Maybe one more card to conclude the video. Okay, we're getting up to an hour here. I've been blabbing for long enough. Let's get one more card, okay? And we'll see what kind of conclusion that Spirit wants to give us about this topic. That one, okay? Knight of Cups. That's a good concluding card. The Knight of Cups. Okay, so you can see in this card that this person is, it looks like this person is someone who loves love, okay? This person, the Knights in tarot decks represent movement, okay? And the Cups suit represents emotions and love and creativity. So what I'm feeling for you guys, for us all, to conclude this reading is that we're being asked to follow what we're passionate about, to follow our hearts, to follow what makes us happy, to follow what excites us, to follow what we love, okay? Yet, it's important to remember that as you follow your love, as you follow what you love, as you follow what you're passionate about, as you go for what you want, for what makes you happy, you have to be careful, okay? See, we have the shark down here, okay? You can't, you just have to know your power, and you have to know boundaries, okay? So you don't kind of get trapped into situations that, or people, okay? So say if you're in a relationship, you know, or if there's somebody that somebody that you fancy, that you want to kind of pursue, you have to keep your strength intact. You have to keep your self-worth and your self-esteem intact, and you have to kind of not allow yourself to get lost in something or someone else, or it could be damaging to you, okay? So yeah, to conclude this reading, follow what you love, follow what makes you happy, follow what brings you joy, follow what your heart wants, okay? Follow your passions, but be practical, okay? And don't be a slave to these things, okay? All right, that's all I have for you guys for today. I hope you enjoy the reading, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.